Hi, everybody. This is Silvio Canto in Dallas, Texas on Wednesday, December the 5th, and welcome to our video commentary. Well, I'm sure all of you maybe had a chance to watch or will have a chance to watch later the funeral of President Bush 41. It was an absolutely beautiful ceremony at the National Cathedral. Just great, just absolutely great. The remarks, the different eulogies were just absolutely great, of course. The one by his son, President Bush 43, was not only very personal, but very historic. I mean, if you think about it, this may be the last time, at least in my lifetime, where you will have a former president eulogize his father, a former president. If you just think about that, the historic nature of it was absolutely stunning. The last time that this happened, when we had a president who was the son of a president, that would have been John Adams and John Quincy Adams. John Adams died in 1826, and I believe his son was president, but I'm not sure that they had a ceremony like this. So in terms of history, if you like history, this was a rather amazing day. And I have to tell you something, the more that I see George W. Bush, now almost 10 years after he left the presidency, the more I see this man, the more impressed I am with the quality and the character of the man. And, sometimes they say like father, like son. Well, I think that we see that with Bush 41 and Bush 43. The Bush family is just fantastic. I mean, to watch this, it was just absolutely beautiful. But the one thing about this funeral today and the actual burial that will take place in Texas A&M, I believe on Friday, what we're really seeing here is the passing of a generation. George Bush 41 was the last World War II president, meaning the last man who served in World War II, who made it to the White House. From Eisenhower to Bush, every man who served, Eisenhower, Kennedy, Johnson, Nixon, Ford, Carter, Reagan, and Bush, every one of those men had a connection to World War II, whether it was actually in battle, as was the case of Bush and Kennedy, or in some other capacity. Each one of them had a connection to World War II. And of course, you can also add Harry Truman to that, but Truman, of course, was the commander-in-chief, the president, at the end of World War II. He had had his own military service in World War One. But from Truman to Eisenhower to Kennedy and all the way up to Bush, every one of those men had been connected to World War II. So when they were buried, a certain amount of World War II history was buried with them. And I know that, we look in the newspapers every day and we see obituaries about men who served in World War II. That generation, the generation that we owe so much to, is passing away because of age. And today we saw one more of that generation being honored, the 41st President of the United States, President Bush. And again, absolutely beautiful ceremony. One thing I'm hoping that with the death of President Bush, 41, and the things that they talk about, the collapse of the Soviet Union, all of that period, World War II and all of that, I'm hoping that a lot of young people who have not been exposed to that will have a chance to read more about the Cold War and read more about the collapse of the Soviet Union and those amazing years that President Bush was in the White House. I think that it would do a lot of young people a lot of good to go back and read about some of the great moments of the 20th century. Well, thank you for watching. We have all of these on YouTube, on Twitter, and on my blog. And if December 5th is your birthday, happy birthday. Bye-bye, everybody.